Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Masters Bangkok is over. Such a remarkable tournament in so many ways. T1 take an unbelievable victory for the Asia Pacific region in the grand finals up against G2 of all teams, America's representation. So much drama after this tournament, and talking points today. The new agent coming into the game, Boostio versus Leaf. Certainly big drama between the Americas and that G2 roster. Sentinels giving their perspective to some extent as well. What do you guys think and everything that's happened over the last few days in the comments below? Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Sorry for no videos over the last couple of days, just timing wise with, I've been busy the last couple of days in the afternoons, and when the Masters Bangkok just wasn't really a great time zone for me with, here in Europe with when I usually make the content, but back in business as of today, and well, Waylay is also back in business too. Now, this is the new agent. It was played yesterday, and of course, show match and stuff, and Zekken was utilizing it as well on the new kind of beta environment and all this. And this is an interesting agent to say the very least. I'm not surprised that Zekken, was expected to be rather good here with this agent. I think it's the dash which is especially remarkable, right? Because the jet dash has been the gold standard since the release of VALORANT, really, in terms of what you can do with the movement mechanics. But no, this is a rewind level ability that we have seen before, and it's kind of crazy how effective this can actually be. Duelist will be excited about this opportunity for Waylay. Obviously, Zekken's been using her to great effect as it stands, and this actually is the agent, by the way, and obviously confirmed, right, at the Grand Finals of Masters Bangkok as a Thai agent. So, yeah, pretty insane stuff. This is the dash ability from one perspective, and, well, it looks pretty crazy from the on-board perspective, but if you look at it from the perspective of the opponent, it's even crazier, right? You have to be insanely cracked out to stop anything like this. It's a problem, it's a concern, and Primi was taking full advantage there. As Zekken says, I think Waylay seems underwhelming a little bit. A buff or two should be good for her, right? So, of course, a bit of a joke here from Zekken, because everybody knows that that agent is particularly strong, as, to be fair, always tends to be the case with these new agents. And Zekken is probably going to be rather good on this agent, and therefore, it's make it even better, and then we're going to be at a good spot. But, yeah, let's talk about it, right? Because Neon was relevant for some time, and now is kind of irrelevant with the changes that they made, and then they bring this agent in, of course, with Neon vibes, for the very least, but, maybe even better in many respects. So, that's interesting for certain players in the league. Also notably, a potential change on the Ascent that they're working on. Rip Odin, spam, possibly. I think that fundamentally, the way that Ascent is laid out is pretty strong. I don't really think they can do a much better job of the layout. I really like it, but it's not like the map didn't have its problems. This was one of them, so effectively removing this from the game, I think, is probably a wise idea. It's going to change the way the map plays. Some people will miss it, but I think that in terms of skill gap and everything, it's probably a good idea, but intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Some roster drama as well. It was confirmed yesterday that Natank is gone from Lev, at least he's onto the bench. This was rumoured, I want to say, 2 weeks ago now, easily 2 weeks ago. And the rumour was anyway that Rossi was going to be the man to come into the team instead. They confirmed yesterday this is true. Now, their coach came out and said a few very interesting things. I'll just go back to this tweet, I guess. But the coach, basically, Itapata, said that it was a team decision, as in it was a coaching staff/player decision to get rid of him rather than it was management stepping in. But, look, I don't know. People are going to speculate on this a lot as to whether, again, because last year there was all that drama with Noswa. Aspas seemingly wasn't happy about it, but then, of course, he's dropped Nosra again on MRBR over the last few days. But, the coach comes out and says, oh, it was our decision. We'll take the blame for it, not management of the team. But you never really know with Lev whether management have stepped in to say, hey, the team isn't performing. We've got to do something. We're going to put the pressure on, and you guys decide who's going to get dropped, but someone's going to get dropped. So, look, who really knows what actually happened behind the scenes? Regardless, they're making a change. And as he says, I won't be playing for Leviathan in stage 1. It's a tough pill to swallow. I wanted to make this project work. Basically, what they said is that the system system that they're trying to implement, it wasn't really working for Natak, and therefore he's out of there. So he says, I'll go into some more details soon. Wishing the best for him going forwards, of course, but also whether it's actually going to work out for Lev, having, we think they're bringing in Rossi. Those are some of the rumours. But let's talk about what happened, right, in the grand finals of Masters Bangkok, and even to get to that point. And look, I feel a bit chuffed about this, right, because I don't know what it was about that T1 team where they were first formed, but I just really, I kept mentioning how much I liked the composition of that team. And, I genuinely thought they could make the international tournament. I also genuinely thought that once they made it, it would take them a couple of times to actually win, right? Carpe, historically, has got so many second places. Stax and Buzz, they'd never won an international over all of these years, and I thought that maybe it would be a little bit too far too soon for T1 to actually win at this time of asking. And look, as much as I rate the T1 team, if I had to pick the winner going into the grand finals, I would have said G2 were the more likely. But yeah, what a victory. Now, of course, G2, they said this is going to look so good in our trophy cabinet, the grand finals trophy for Masters Bangkok. But to be fair, to even get there, T1 had to take down Edward Gaming. And Edward, as good as they are, I do think, they can be a bit vulnerable in certain moments, but the way that T1 capitalized was super impressive. This was not a close series in the end. Izu, Buzz, Stax, Meteor, all very highly in the positive. They won the bind, they dominated it, they won the Haven as well. They then lost a crazy fracture, but they bounced back on the split 13-5. So, a crushing elimination there for EDG. But this was one of the critical moments of yesterday's series. You couldn't really have asked for a much better grand finals than this. A 5-mapper, overtime on the final map, right, to G2, despite, if they'd have won this rounds, that would have been them 12-9, they probably would have won the series then and there. But Stax takes advantage of this spot. It was so close to this happening, but, great positioning from Stax. He manages to capitalize. There were several other kind of crazy moments as well throughout this series. I'm just going to go through a couple of screenshots here. This was on the Pearl on the final map decider as well. This was another example on the 10-12 round where Stax hits this kill against Trent. Just absolutely icy. Even this situation here on the map before, when, on the split, when it was 13-12 to T1, and, this looked plausible to win. This moment could have been it, right? This could have been the championship, but it wasn't. Such an amazing grand finals, and for Buzz and Stax, after all of this time, how hard they've worked, the different teams that they've been on to get to this point with this T1 roster to, channel the spirit of Faker, as it were. I know that they were doing a bit of that here for the grand finals. Was a remarkable storyline for them, and G2, as good as, they are and as good as we expected them to be here for the grand finals, they were the favourites for the tournament at that point. And the fact that, look, Jorgama had a great series here, but the fact that T1 won the tournament with no player going positive in the grand finals is incredibly impressive. G2 dominated the Lotus, T1 then won their map pick 13-9, and after that, it was all kinds of chaos. G2 won their map pick 13-11. This was, impressive at T1. I think what impressed me more about T1, not just even about their upside, because I think there was no doubt in my mind, especially with Meteor coming in and Stax and Buzz and Sylvan and certainly Itsu as well. I think he's really, really impressive, that they would have the firepower. I was a bit concerned about this team and their mental resilience. I think that's what I've always worried about a little bit with these teams, especially just after what happened with DRX over the last few years. And T1, they go up 6-0, they go up 7-1, they go up 8-4 at the half, and then they lose the map. And that's one of those, it's a difficult pill to swallow when you lose in that manner. But for them to bounce back on the split, win the pistol, lose all those rounds in a row, at this point they probably thought it was over. Well, at least the fans would have thought it was over. But T1 never gave up. They won the second pistol. They took it to an overtime. They went down 13-12. They won it on the split. And the Pearl was again very similar, because after getting pegged back as they did, they managed to ice up and even get it to the overtime, which they eventually won. So, that's what was, it was such a banger grand finals, right? Loud versus Fnatic at the kickoff a couple of years ago, and now this one here. But yeah, the Asia Pacific region, or just Asia in general, is kind of taken over Valorant, with Gen.G, with Edward Gaming, and now with T1 taking big victories over the last few tournaments. And yeah, for G2, it's a bitter pill to swallow because they were playing so well, and I felt like if they played at the level that they did, which they did, like G2 played at their level this tournament that I expected them to be at, and I thought that if they did, they would win it. But T1 were just stronger, and that was, a pleasant surprise, I think, in terms of the competitiveness of this league and of the tournament itself. Obviously, Josh RT talks about it, a really tough loss to have. Nathan Leaf says, most fun that he's had playing the game, wasn't playing the best, but T1's an insane team. And he reveals a really, difficult personal challenge, as he says, like, his mum unfortunately passed away on the 2nd of February after a long and painful battle with cancer, heading into Thailand, wanted to win this so badly, but wasn't to be in the end. But yeah, so sorry to hear about this from Leaf's side. Really difficult time. Like, the fact that he's been able to play as well as he did given these circumstances is incredibly impressive, I think. But I think he can be proud, and the team can be proud of exactly what that they have done over the most recent tournament. And as he says, next time is gonna be the time, because this is only the first tournament of the year. Tough way to lose. Of course, Jorgama had this crazy ace to keep them alive at this moment. It was a critical one to end up winning this Abyss in the end. And as he says, I'm going to come back full guns blazing next time out. But yeah, remarkable stuff, obviously, from Stacks. Those who, suspected it will shut up now, right? Obviously, there's some degree of translation here, but I thought this was a pretty fire tweet here from Stacks, really. And he says, yeah, that obviously there was lots of cheers in the crowd for them, and they get the victory in the end. And Meteor joins a list of an exclusive list of players that have won multiple times on the international stage. 10 Sassy, Boaster, Durka, Alpha, Leo, and Chronicle are the only members on that list, and Meteor is now the first player from the Pacific region to actually achieve that with Gen.G, and now with T1 as well. Sentinels, though, of course, taking the mick out of G2 for their defeat. Generational jinx, which, is, to be fair enough. G2 have managed to do it again. And then there was a bit of, drama on this, right? Just because, look, Leaf obviously gave his perspective on the personal challenges, so I don't really think this tweet from Boostio went down especially well. But we know that they've been beefing for some time, so I thought, obviously, it was probably fair enough. But Boostio says, Leaf in regular matches, Leaf in grand finals, says that he's not playing so well, but then Nathan Leaf fires back and says, guy can't even qualify for an international without Jorgamo, which isn't necessarily true. They talk about Master Shanghai, but still, whatever. At the end of the day, it's a fun little rivalry to keep up with going forward. But yeah, massively intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Loads to discuss over the coming days as well. Drama around the new agent, what changes some of these teams may need to make, and exactly how these teams will intend in the rest of the league to get to a point where they can beat G2, and then after that get to a point where they could potentially beat T1, because that seems to be another challenge in and of itself right now. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.